Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Allison if you are new here, and today I am sharing another room makeover. I have been going through my entire house and making over spaces with my husband, room by room, DIY style, and on a budget. So I hope this video gives you lots of DIY ideas, lots of inspiration for your own home, or even if it's just a fun, relaxing video for you to watch. I love making these for you guys, and I can't wait to share some other spaces that are coming in the future. Very exciting things are still coming in this house, even though a lot of the big spaces have been redone. I'll link a playlist down below if you want to see more of these videos, but today we are working on the guest bedroom. As you can see, it's a bit of a storage closet right now. My husband's in the military and there is lots of gear we keep at our house. It's just really random, really bulky, and we have a big storage closet that I'm finally moving all of the stuff to. So everything's being dragged out of this room, finding a new home, and then I'm going to start to disassemble the bed. This step would have been much easier with Christian's help, but he was actually at work when I was starting this project. I actually waited till the very last minute to start this project because we actually were having Christian's parents come and stay with us, so we needed this room to actually come together finally. So I started working on the room the day before they came. So this whole room makeover was done over 2 days, which is not normally how I do things. I normally take my time, let it take a couple weeks, even a whole month at times, but this time I sped through it in 2 days, and I'm really impressed with what I accomplished there. And the main reason I want to take apart the bed is that I want to paint this bed frame. If you saw the master bedroom makeover, you know that we painted all of the matching furniture with this bed frame. There's a matching dresser and nightstands that we painted white, and now we are finally painting the headboard white. It is going to be in a different room than the dresser and everything else, but I think it's still going to make this room a lot brighter and nicer, and with all of the moves we've done so far, it has gotten a little bit chipped, so it could use a little TLC. I've explained it in a lot of my other videos how I like to paint. I like to use chalk paint on furniture. It requires very minimal prep. You can just paint the item inside your house. You don't need to sand it down and have dust everywhere. And I'll link down below in the description bar all of the products I'm using for these DIYs and all the decor I can find. This paintbrush is probably familiar if you've seen my other videos. I love it for chalk painting, and more so than actually just painting the items, I love to use this chalk paintbrush for finishing our items with wax. Normally when you're painting furniture, you want to make sure you protect that paint job, especially because we're not sanding down this item. It is susceptible to scratching pretty easily until it's fully cured. So to add a little extra protection, I always finish my furniture with waxing. I'll show that a little bit later on, but I did want to mention that I use this brush for basically everything in the painting process. I use it for my chalk paint and I use it to finish it. So it's maybe like a $10 or $15 brush on Amazon, but I find it well worth it because it has lasted me for so many projects. I'll show you a little hack later on to help save some time during these painting projects, but I will say investing in the right paintbrushes and keeping them nice definitely makes these DIYs a lot easier. With chalk paint and a light color being painted over dark furniture like this, it is going to take a couple of coats of paint. So be patient, set aside a day or two to actually finish this project. Don't do what I did and try to cram it all into one day, because it will get a little bit overwhelming and it's a little bit disheartening every time you do a layer and you still see streaky black underneath it, but it does get better. These coats build up beautifully, and that's what's great about chalk paint is this first layer will go on pretty streaky, but even just the second layer alone makes such a difference, and by the third layer it is practically perfect. My favorite painting hack is to have a Ziploc bag ready and just wrap your paintbrush in that in between coats of paint. This way you're not washing your brushes a bunch of times. And here you can see we did 3 coats of paint total, so I would have been running back and forth to that sink a bunch of times. My hands would be pruny by the end of this. If you put it in a Ziploc bag and stick it in the fridge, it'll stay good until your next coat of paint. But I did have to wash the paintbrush out eventually once I was done painting and going in with my hard wax. I have tried soft waxes, polyurethanes, and this hard wax, and I can say, hands down, this is my favorite finish. You have to work it in there pretty good, but I think this brush picks up a great amount of product, and it's really easy to work with. It is a little bit of elbow grease, but it's definitely worth it, and it's definitely the strongest protection I've found from a wax product, and much easier and more forgiving than working with a polyurethane top coat. But to use it, all you do is buff it in, and then wait a minute or two, and then buff it out with a rag. While I was working on the bed frame and letting that dry in between coats, I was working on another DIY project in here, and it's going to be some peel and stick wallpaper. This was my first time ever working with it, and boy was I intimidated. So I definitely looked at some articles online for tips on how to hang this, and the biggest thing I found was to make a straight and level line the width of the wallpaper with a pencil. So I got that large level out, I measured the width of the wallpaper off the wall, and made sure I drew a very level line. When houses are built, the walls and corners are not always perfectly straight and 90-degree angles, so you do not want to be lining up your wallpaper with the edge of your wall. You could end up with some wonky seams, things getting a little bit twisted or bubbled, so it's much better to draw your own line, and that's what I'm doing here. This first piece of wallpaper, I am lining up against a pencil line that's very hard for you to see up against this wall, but I'm not edging it up against the corner. You might be able to notice it actually pulls a little bit away from the corner of the wall, and that's because I was focusing on lining it up perfectly level. Some other tips I read online before I started working on this was, one, have a partner, and that's simply because it's tricky to peel the backing off of this wallpaper by yourself while also trying to make it seamless. There is a pattern repeat in this. It's just very tricky to find because the pattern's so mild. It was probably the biggest frustration of this whole wallpaper project, was just lining it up perfectly. But do note that you can line it up. This product came from Amazon, and a lot of the product reviews for it show pictures of people who didn't bother lining it up. And I don't want to say that theirs looked bad, but I do think it looks a lot better taking the time to line it up perfectly. So I think it would have been nice to have Christian, but it was surprisingly not as hard as I thought to do it by myself. I don't think he would have been very much help besides just helping getting the peeled backing off to begin with. And then also I picked up this little smoothing tool. It's the blue thing I'm using. And honestly, for this kind of wallpaper, I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think you need it because this wallpaper is very forgiving, very thick. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but if I had a bigger pattern or a thinner and smoother wallpaper I was working with, I definitely see the value in having this smoothing tool. But you'll see later on in the video, I'm gonna end up just using my hands because it was just as effective as using this tool. So maybe save yourself a little bit of money because the wallpaper is also not the cheapest item. And you'll see pretty soon that I actually ended up running out of wallpaper. I didn't buy enough. I thought 2 rolls would be enough for 1 wall, but I was very wrong. I didn't even look at the measurements of it, which was completely my bad. So that's why this project ended up getting split into 2 days instead of just 1 day of work, and that's because I had to wait for Amazon to deliver the second roll of wallpaper. Now I'll jump to day 2 in a little bit to show you finishing the wallpaper, but still on this first day I wanted to get as much done as possible. Like I said, our in-laws were coming over the following day and they needed to have this room put back together, so I was too far into this to give up or to get tired, so I had been working all day long. You can see that we're still having the bed frame drying in this frame, but I wanted to put together these nightstands. So I bought these from Walmart, mostly because they were the cheapest ones I could find online. I know if I looked hard enough on Facebook Marketplace or on Goodwill or other places, I would have been able to find something to repurpose, but these were cheap, inexpensive, and would be shipped to my house with 2-day shipping, so that was a win in my book. I think they were about $30–40 each, so I have one for each side of the bed. And I have a question for you guys. My original thoughts were to paint these black, so I was going to have the contrast of the white bed frame, the gray wallpaper, and black nightstands, but one, I ran out of room on this one day to paint all of these items, so for Christian's parents, I was just going to leave them natural. And then once I put the room together, it actually looked pretty nice, adding a little bit of warmth back because the wallpaper is pretty cool toned and everything else was pretty white and bright. So let me know down below if you think by the end of this video if I should paint these black. I built the second nightstand off camera, so here I'm just going to carry it into the other side of the bedroom. Sorry, Bucky just burst into the room where I'm recording this voiceover. You might have caught him a little bit in this video, so let me know if you've spotted Bucky so far. He's been a little bit more MIA in this video than in other videos, but finally Christian was home from work and ready to help me put things back together. These were pretty tricky screws to work on and to like hold the headboard up still, so he helped me with this, and then I have one more little project for him to work on too in this room. It seems like we actually haven't done that much in this video so far. Like, we've just painted the headboard and put up some wallpaper, but I already can see such a difference in this room. It went from being like our scrap room or our extra room where we just threw junk to being a nice bedroom. Like, I would enjoy if this was my bedroom personally. So I'm actually so happy with the progress that's coming along. And then really once we assemble the bed and add curtains and other little decor pieces, it's really gonna start coming together. And you will see a little bit later on, we're gonna take the bed apart one more time to put the wallpaper up finally, but like I said, like 6 times already. I'm probably getting a little bit repetitive, but we had to make this room functional for Christian's parents in the meantime. We have the same curtain rods in every room in this house, and they are the really cheap ones available at IKEA. I find them to be very high quality, really streamlined and simple, and they come in black and white, basically the 2 colors I use in my house. And you can see I was thinking to add black accents in this room, so that's why I chose a black curtain rod. So I don't know, I love to see black contrast in the room, but I don't know if this room should just be more coastal and beachy and leave it light and airy. So let me know down below. Once again, I cannot decide for the life of me what to do. But moving on to these curtains. These are from Target, and they are the blackout curtains I also use everywhere in my house. And if you've seen some other videos of mine, you know I love to hem my curtains. It makes the room look so much nicer and sleeker, and I have a very cheap way to do it. There is this little tape of glue basically that is activated by your iron, so all you have to do is pin on the ground the length of your curtains to be, Pull that up on an ironing board, fold that over, and then with a wet towel, you iron on where you want it hemmed up. It makes your curtains look super professional and super nice, and it just makes the room all come together. I chose to upgrade the mattress pad and take off our old memory cushion topper. This bed was a little bit too tall for the bed frame, like the pillows were up and touching the wall, if that makes sense, if you know what I'm talking about. So I thought it was worth it to refresh the bedding, make it nice for our guests, because I think we're gonna be having lots of family stay. My family's coming pretty soon, my sister-in-law's coming to visit. Lots of fun things. I think this room is going to be well loved, so I think it's more than worth it to invest for our guests to have a nice space for them all to stay. But I'm gonna start making our bed now and then pretty much wrap up day one of this project. I am very impressed with how much I got done this day. It is more than I think I've tackled any other day of DIYing. Day 2, and we're back on the wallpaper grind. I will say I was kind of happy when I ran out of wallpaper on the first day of this project, because that meant that I didn't have to line up any more patterns, because it was seriously the biggest struggle. I had to edit out so much footage of me just trying to find where the pattern repeats, but enough complaining. I think it's beautiful and well worth it. I just don't know if I would repeat this wall anywhere else in my house. I love it here, but it was a process to get up. But once you get the hang of it, it is really easy to be hanging up this wallpaper. I just used a box cutter or a utility knife, whatever you want to call it, to cut around outlets or to make clean lines along the baseboards and the ceiling. Now, even with the extra roll of wallpaper, I still had about 3 or 4 inches that were not going to be covered, and I did not think it was worth it to buy another roll just for this little section, so I was very carefully saving all of the extra little pieces that I cut off or trimmed off that were just extra from the other rolls, and thankfully I had enough to cover about the top half of this wall. I have something going in this corner to hide it. Do not worry, we're not going to just leave this hole. Well, actually, we are leaving that hole in the wallpaper, but I think this mirror will be perfect in this little spot to keep it out of sight. Now I'm gonna start putting everything back in the room, decorating, adding lamps, and then making the bed. I think this room is really starting to come together, and I cannot wait to show you the before and after shots. I guess the pillows still go over the top of the headboard, which is what I was trying to avoid with getting rid of the mattress topper and a smaller mattress pad, but oh well, I think it's a little bit better even though it's mostly hidden. And these 2 front pillows are from IKEA. If you're ever buying IKEA pillows, when you go to buy the filler pillows, always buy the feather filler pillows. They're the more expensive option, but trust me, I have the cheap options and the feather options, and all of the cheap ones that I bought are tucked away in a closet because they do not look good. Go for the more expensive ones, you won't regret it, they look way better. And now with a couple finishing touches in the room and then vacuuming up all the dog hair Bucky brought in here, you know the struggles if you have a dog, I'm finally ready to show you guys the before and afters. So do you guys even remember what this room started off looking like? And with just 2 days of work, the room now looks like this. I cannot believe it, especially since most of it we already had on hand. The wallpaper is new, the nightstands and the table lamps are new, but everything else in this room I already had in the house. The bedding we already had, the mirrors, all the little decor pieces, the curtains, all of that was already in this space, and I'm just so happy with how it all came together. Now I do think this will be a 2-part episode because this back wall is very, very bare. and I definitely want to revamp the rest of this space too, but with the time crunch we are working on, I think it's definitely a functional, great room to have in the house. But make sure you guys go down below and let me know, should I paint the nightstands black? What should I do with that big blank wall in the back? Let me know your thoughts. You guys have the best ideas, and make sure you like this video if you enjoyed watching. Make sure you're subscribed, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!